and the Vice President Jagdeo knows all.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio for Thursday, August 3rd, 2022. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. Emboldened by the permission of the Guyana government for an offshore pumping spree, ExxonMobil and its partners have kicked off procurement and engineering works for its fifth oil project in the Stabroek Block. Making this disclosure was Hess Corporation during its second quarter earnings call at the end of July 2022. Hess, which holds a 30% working interest in the Stabroek concession, said front-end engineering and design work for the fifth development in Uaru Mako 1 is underway, with a plan of development expected to be submitted to the government by year-end. The company went on to say that in terms of exploration and appraisal in Guyana, it plans to continue to invest in an active program, with approximately 12 wells planned for the Stabroek Block in 2022. Hess and its partners are also simultaneously planning a drilling campaign with 24 wells evenly distributed across its Kanji and Kaieteur blocks. It will also execute a 35-well program in the Stabroek Block next year. Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 commemorated the President Mohamed Irfan Ali-led government's second year in office. And according to Article 13, a civil society body, there is nothing to celebrate because it has not done anything to advance and represent the interest of the Guyanese people. Article 13 noted that one of the ways that the government has failed the country is by not making a new legislation to regulate Guyana's oil sector. Not only has Ali and his government failed to update Guyana's outdated petroleum laws for the protection of the country's oil resources, but according to Article 13, it has also backpedaled on its manifesto promise to revisit the lopsided contract for the lucrative Stabroek Block currently being operated by ExxonMobil. And moving on. Under the APNU-FC coalition stewardship, a 10-year lease was signed with prominent Guyanese singer Eddie Grant to rent one of his properties for $188 million annually. It was in May 2019 when the lease was signed with Blue Wave Apartments Inc., an Eddie Grant-owned company. The property is located at 107 to 108 Duke Street, Kingston, Georgetown, and was rented to house the United Nations offices in one compound. Importantly, due to the contractual agreement the coalition signed, if the PPP administration wants to terminate the contract, the state would be required to pay Grant $188.4 million, which is equivalent to 1 year in rent. Over the 10-year period, a total of $1.8 billion will be paid to Grant in rental fees. Notably, that said money is equivalent to almost 7% increases for public servants. And moving on, a former head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Vincent Adams, does not believe that ExxonMobil has indeed achieved the flaring target set out in the Liza 2 permit, as the company is reluctant to share the total volume of gas flared at the Liza 1 field. ESSO had been pumping associated gas at the Liza 1 field soon after the startup of its oil production in 2019, owing to its failed gas compressor. It was only last week that the company told members of the media that the equipment was finally replaced. Notably, the EPA had tweaked the permit governing operations in the field to remove a no-flaring policy, thus allowing the company to flare gas and pay a fine in return. To that end, it was reported by ExxonMobil's production manager, Mike Ryan, that a total of some $10 million in flaring fees had been paid over to the entity. However, when he was asked to disclose the total volume of gas flared at the Liza Destiny vessel over the 2-year period, he carefully dodged the question. And just before we head to a short break, let's tell you that as global demand for fossil fuel recovers, ExxonMobil Corporation said it is becoming quite evident that the current supply will not be sufficient. As such, it will continue to make the necessary investments that would leave it well positioned to dominate the market and net more record-breaking revenues for the remainder of 2022. This much was communicated to shareholders by Darren Woods, CEO and chairman of ExxonMobil, on July 29th. During his company's second quarter earnings call, the Exxon chief noted that the company broke another record as it made approximately $17 billion in profits. Woods said he is determined to replicate this success by growing oil output in the USA and Guyana. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. We'll take a short break and return with your news.
It's easy like 1, 2, 3. Can't believe all this money for me, money for me. I got to get the CASH. That's the code for the vault, so let's play. Top up with the toes and then the next day you could be a millionaire. Did you sell?
More than 15 million to grab this summer. Top up with $1,000 or more to collect the letters to spell CASH for a chance to catch millions in the Digicel's cash vault. Top up today.
Did you sell?
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with your news. Although an environmental permit for the planned pipeline to transport gas from the Liza 1 and 2 fields offshore Guyana is yet to be approved by the EPA, the company conducting the venture, ESSO, has moved to award yet another contract. On Monday, while the country was celebrating emancipation, the oil company gave out another contract, this time to Technip FMC, a United Kingdom-based firm that provides expertise for subsea and surface projects. Though a cost was not attached, it must be noted that a significant contract for Technip FMC is one within the range of $75 million to $250 million. And moving on, following an invitation for bids to construct a new administrative office building at the Chetty Jagan International Airport, 8 contractors have applied to execute the project. The Ministry of Public Works project, which opened on Tuesday at the NPTAB office, is estimated to cost $906.7 million. Out of the 8 contractors, 5 bid between $833 million and $900 million. Another bid $964 million, and 2 entered bids just over $1 billion for the project. And in other news, the Because We Care cash grant distribution began on Tuesday across Guyana, with parents and guardians turning up in their numbers at various distribution points to uplift the 30,000 grant for their children. The distribution exercise was officially launched by Minister of Education Priya Manichand at the Bell West Primary School in Region 3, according to a ministry release. Minister of Education Priya Manichand explained to the parents, teachers and students that there are no other criteria to receive the grant other than having the child's name on the register. And just one day after the stabbing death of 53-year-old East Kanji businessman Vikram Subaran, investigators in Berbice recovered the victim's cell phone at the suspect's house in Betsy Ground, East Kanji, Berbice. This was confirmed by the brother of the deceased, Glenn Subaran. He said that the cell phone was easily recognized because his sister had bought it for the businessman some time ago, and they were still in possession of the purchase receipt. Police on Monday arrested the prime suspect along with 2 others, and under interrogation, the main suspect, who frequented the home of the victim, cracked and confessed to stabbing the businessman to death. In other news, hundreds of Guyanese on Tuesday congregated at the Burnham Court to support a parliamentary opposition-organized rally against corruption, the high cost of living and extrajudicial killings, among other issues. The PNCR, the WPA and the AFC supporters turned up in their numbers as they cheered on the coalition's members of parliament who took to the podium to assure that the critical areas are not and will not be left on the back burner. Shaking to songs of redemption, the supporters waved the national arrowhead and their party flags as the sun went down. And of course, as usual, we turn the pages of today's Kaieteur News to wrap things up for your news at noon. Think again. Do they really think that they can keep pulling wool over Guyanese eyes? Politicians after politicians have wooed the Guyanese people for their votes only to use their time in high office to help plunder the nation's wealth. Guyana does not belong to any politician or political party, and then who, for some inconceivable reason, think they can wheel and deal Guyanese out of their God-given patrimony and live a favored life had better think again. According to the good book, a ruler who lacks understanding is a cruel oppressor, but he who hates unjust gain will prolong his days. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8